Alright, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to take a look at the Deadly Discovery Challenger deck and see if it's still playable after the Throne of Eldraine standard rotation. It's not. But don't lose hope. If you like this style of deck, there's actually a new Golgari mid-range deck, and it seems to be performing pretty okay, but it's also an entirely different deck, and it's also not cheap, but yeah, there is a deck, we'll take a look at it. But first, let's take a look at Deadly Discovery. And the deck has basically been gutted. It lost Wild Growth Walker and its entire Explore package, which was basically what the deck was built around. Wild Growth Walker was great, gaining tons of life, brick walling early game attacks, and pushing the game super late so it could have time to grind out value and start playing large finishers in the late game. It also lost Merfolk Branch Walker and Jade Light Ranger, you know, basically the cards that the deck was built around. You know, it also lost Cast Down, Ravenous Chupacabra, the Eldest Reborn, which was a pretty hefty portion of the deck's removal package. The Chupacabra and the Saga were particularly great because they could 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 the opponent. It also lost Vraska Relic Seeker and Carnage Tyrant, which were two of the deck's top end threats. Every deck played a different ratio of top end finishers, but Carnage Tyrant was particularly nasty since it was so difficult to interact with. Though on the other hand, Doom Whisper is still legal, so that's cool, right? People aren't really playing with Doom Whisper right now, and I feel like it's a bit of a sleeper. The deck also lost Vivian Reed, so if you were playing those, well, you won't be playing them any longer, unfortunately, at least not in Standard. And did I mention Llanowar Elf? Because yeah, Llanowar Elf, that's gone too. So this is what the deck looked like when it came out of the box, and if we highlight the cards we lost in red, you can see that there is a lot. A whole lot. Like, really a whole lot. And more importantly, these red cards are basically the reason to play the deck in the first place. Now here is the upgraded list. This is the one that I upgraded into if you watched my upgrade video, and once again we see that it's not good because, you know, Wild Growth Walker, it's red. That's not good. We don't want Wild Growth Walker to be red, but it is. And here is the most recent Golgari mid-range deck that top 8'd a major tournament. Technically this is Sultai because they started including blue, and if we highlight the cards that lost in red, there's a little bit less, but it's still like the majority of the deck. And once again, Wild Growth Walker is still red. Don't know why that keeps happening. That was kind of important. Why does it have to be so red? Dagnabbit. So where do we go from here? I mean, like I mentioned earlier, there is a pretty good Golgari deck. You know, it's performing pretty well in competitive tournaments, but it's basically an entirely different deck. Instead of playing Wild Growth Walker, it instead plays Edgewall Innkeeper, which are actually kind of similar. So basically, instead of exploring, we are now adventuring. The Innkeeper lets you draw a card whenever you play a creature with an adventure. It's less good at stalling the game like the Walker, but it's better at generating card advantage. Then it plays the adventure package with things like Foulmire Knight, Lovestruck Beast, and Murderous Rider. The cool part about these is they're already really good at generating card advantage by giving us two effects on one card, and then the Innkeeper will allow us to draw more cards when we play the creatures, so you can see how it's good at generating card advantage. I mean, like Murderous Rider, for example, you know, first you kill a creature, then the next turn you play the creature from the same card, and then that also allows you to draw a card from the Innkeeper, which allows you to go up, you know, 3-for-1 on the opponent in the card advantage department, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, you can see it's kind of similar. You can see this, you know, this Explore package versus the Adventure package, and you know, it's similar. And Murderous Rider is also just a great replacement for Ravenous Chupacabra. I mean, we get to kill a creature and deploy a creature with one card. It's one turn faster on killing a creature, though it's a little clunkier to get the creature out, but you know, these are actually kind of comparable. So there's lots of like similarities, right? You can see how if you like one deck, you will probably like the other. The top end of this new deck is made up of Questing Beast and Rankle. These are a little bit smaller than Doom Whisperer and Carnage Tyrant that were in the old Golgari deck, but that's because without Wild Growth Walker to stall the game and Llanowar Elf to ramp, it's a little bit less reliable to get into the 6+ mana territory. So it's playing things that are a little smaller, you know, just good solid 4-drops. The Questing Beast is amazing, and Rankle is another way to like break symmetry in terms of card advantage. It technically punishes both players equally, but when you're drawing extra cards and stuff, it's pretty good. So here's a look at the full list. This is a tier 1 competitive list. You can pause here to look at it if you want, and I will also leave a link in the description exception to the most recent competitive list. It might be this one, it might be a little bit different, but I'll give you a link to it. It's called Golgari Adventure, that's what it's being called right now. So yeah, you can look at that if you want to. But anyway, the problem with this deck is it's not a budget deck. Assassin's Trophy, Questing Beast, and Murderous Rider are all very expensive. Very, very expensive, as you can see right here. It's a lot of money. Questing Beast in particular costs quite a bit of money, and it also plays Once Upon a Time, which is like a $15 card at the moment. Although I suppose you could play a budget removal spell to replace Assassin's Trophy, and I don't know, Questing Beast could be replaced with like Golgari Findbroker. I mean, it's nowhere near as good, but if you're on a budget, sure, it generates card advantage, so there's that. So yeah, maybe it could be budgetized, and the adventure package is actually super cheap, with the exception of Murderous Rider. But you know, look at these cards, they don't cost a whole lot, so you can get that adventure package going for very cheap. But you know, it's not as good without Murderous Rider, and Murderous Riders are like $8 each. You know, you need like $30 for the full playset, so it's still expensive. But anyway, here is my very quick attempt at a budget version, using cards from Deadly Discovery like Doom Whisperer to fill in the gaps. No Questing Beast, no Rankle, no Assassin's Trophy, but we have the Explorer package, and we have some Planeswalkers and top-end threats. Seems okay. Unfortunately, this thing is still like $150, but that's with a fully fleshed out mana base with, you know, Shocklands and stuff. And I also put 2 copies of the Great Henge in, which might not be completely necessary, but it is really nice. And you know, the sideboard is a little expensive as well, so you could probably bring this down to like $80 or so. Still expensive, and at that point you're playing a budget version of a tier 1 deck, not like an actual tier 1 deck. You're spending that money on a deck that is, you know, making compromises. So you know, maybe we just have to wait for the next round of challenger decks. We're gonna be waiting a little bit while for those though. They usually drop in April, so it is what it is. So anyway, yeah, I'm sad to say the Deadly Discovery deck is pretty much done. I wish I had better news for you, but it's just not salvageable. But you know, hey, maybe it's playable in Pioneer. I suppose there's something appropriate about a Pioneer exploration deck, right? Makes sense. You know, I don't want to make any promises, but maybe once Pioneer becomes, you know, much more accepted in paper, I think it starts being played in paper officially in February. Maybe at that point these challenger decks will be upgradable into Pioneer decks. I mean, it has a lot better chance of being Pioneer playable than Modern playable, so maybe that's something to look forward to. I don't know, we'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, sorry to say, Deadly Discovery not playable in Standard, so apologies for that. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm sorry I don't have better news for you, and I will see you in the next one.